Well, morning. One of the things that people keep sending me messages about is they don't want to know about things that are going well. They want to know about things that are going wrong. So I thought I'll just have a wander about and point out some of the things that appear in our show reports. At the top, they want to know how well we're doing. It's sent to the musical directors, the lighting designers, the sound designers, the venue technical managers, people who need to know what's going on so that we can fix it if we have problems. Well, yeah, we do. The ideal thing for a show report to say is clean show. 2 words, nothing else. Now, historically, show reports are always written quite formally. So here in this theatre here, our DSM will actually call people down to the stage by their proper names. So we'll actually have Mr. Smith or Miss Jones, or in our particular case here, we actually do the Magnificent Seven. It's a very polite and very formal way of calling people down. You don't just say dancers to the stage. It's just tradition, it's just not done. And show reports are usually written in that formal thing. Mr. Smith forgot his line. Or Miss Jones was late making her entrance in Act 1. I don't do that. I don't think it's particularly helpful. So my show reports are truthful and incorporate all the things that the people who need to know things want to know. So I'll actually call people by their proper names in the way that I would refer to them normally. So the star of our show over here in Northern Ireland is May McFetridge, and May McFetridge, his real name's John. So I will actually put in the show report, John did this, and I'll put Paddy did this. It's not meant as some sort of beat people over the head document. It's meant to sort of try and help people. Now, one of the big things that we have in pantomime are loads of cues that do loads of things. So we might have a point in the panto when somebody says something quite important, and at that moment we'll have lightning going off, so there'll be strobes firing at the audience. There'll be a sound effect of thunder. It might also be the cue for the musicians to start playing, so the musical director is waiting for perhaps one word. A good example is we've got a cue in the show. It's when the star of the show says jumper, as in he wants to put on a jumper. On that word jumper, about 6 different things happen. What happens if we forget and don't say jumper? I mean, sometimes your brain just gets a bit fuddled, and instead of saying jumper, they could say sweater. Well, it means the same, of course it does. But if everybody's waiting for the magic word jumper to do things, then it sort of falls apart. So it's very important to get all these cue lines dead right. One of the things that has gone wrong in this particular show is one of our glaciator units, which decided it was going to spurt the actual oil that it uses to make the smoke in a big puddle on the floor. Now, it did it, and of course everybody fell over. Not funny. In actual fact, ironically, it's a winter wonderland scene where people are actually sort of looking like they're on ice. But seeing the dancers suddenly fall over and hit the floor, it's not funny. I mean, the first thing you've got to do is make sure they're okay, because they go down fairly hard. So I think we got a bruise on somebody's thigh and somebody banged their knee, which in this particular case was okay. But we had to stop it happening again. So the machine came out of service quite promptly, which took us down from 2 of them down to 1, which reduced the way it works. So one machine that doesn't make people fall over is better than 2 machines that do. Now, because we're in Belfast, it means that you can't just get a replacement. So the replacement comes from the east coast of England, across on a ferry, and arrives here probably 3 days later. So it arrived yesterday, we put it back in. And even that wasn't perfect, because the thing is pre-programmed. So, you know, the lighting desk makes the thing smoke. And I think it was like number 7 out of 10 was about right for that scene. Well, on the new machine, number 7 out of 10 filled the stage with smoke. So we had to then change the cues to make it a bit less, to balance it up with the other one. So it's We get stupid things like that. Above my head here, another one of our problems, there's a number of cloths. We've got gauzes, we've got painted scenery, which fly in and out on cue. And they're quite tightly packed. They're about 8 inches, 200 mil apart from each other, which is normally okay. And very often they come down in the dark. In the auditorium behind me, we get the snag that there's a really powerful air handling system. So some days it's cold, so it blows hot air. Some days it's really hot and it blows cold air. And what actually happens is the air from out there comes this way. And what it does, these massive great cloths that are in here get blown very slightly from where they're sort of naturally hanging. And when they come in and out, they catch on the next one. And we had that yesterday. I actually had it twice. A cloth comes zooming in and gets hung up on another, which is a bit embarrassing. It takes 2 or 3 seconds to get it free, but we don't want to do that. So that goes in the show report too. Sitting in the wings, the 2 halves of our dwarf car. And one day, this little clamping gizmo here, which joins them together, gave up the ghost halfway across the stage. And basically just this little clip here came undone. Not completely, but it came undone partially, which meant the front points in slightly the wrong direction. Instead of going nice and smoothly across the stage, it sort of went in a banana movement. That goes in the show report too. Well, this gadget behind me fires off those flame effects. And rather stupidly, the flame effects don't give you any clue as to how much gas is left in them. So you press the button and one goes full, one makes a farty noise and goes about halfway up. And when that happens, you know it's about to run out. Well, it'd be lovely if it was the last thing, the last burn in a sequence, but of course it's not. It's usually the first or the second. And then it looks a bit lopsided, but there's no way to tell. So at some shows, we get very lopsided flame effects. That goes in the show report too. Behind me, a snowball. Well, basically it's a rubber ball covered with snow material. And there's one either side, and at a precise moment in the show, the stage crew either side roll them on stage. Snow White and the Prince catch them, and they do a little bit of bouncy bouncy in one of their songs. And one night, instead of going straight on, it got hooked up on the scenery, and we only had one ball. And one ball meant that Snow White is bouncing up and down, and the Prince was left with no other real option other than to pretend to bounce up and down, which I thought did look rather stupid when we looked at it. But of course, that too goes in the show report. Other technical things? Well, radio mics. We've got a couple of handhelds, and we actually put a set of batteries in these every show. Now, the show is a couple of hours long. We don't need to put a set of batteries in every time, but we can't afford them to go flat. And even brand new batteries are not foolproof. And we've had at least one show where halfway through we've been forced to replace the batteries because it wasn't ready. We turned them on at the interval because they're used in the second half. And we get to the point just before and it's flat. So that's another thing. In this particular case, it didn't go in the show report because we spotted it, because the machinery tells us when the battery's about to die. So we spotted it in time, but it would have been a dodgy one. In one of the other videos, I mentioned these wireless comms packs. The number of times now that people are calling for each other on them and nobody hears, and they've just gone off. The batteries didn't recharge, or they're just cut out. Frankly, they're a bit of a pain in the bum. Well, I thought perhaps just to finish off, I'll show you what one of our show reports looks like. Now, the worrying thing is, normally it's one sheet of A4. This one's on 2. A show I'll probably remember for quite a while. Our Cinderella had been feeling a bit dodgy, and realistically things didn't go too well. The show reports, by the way, they also keep records of the time the shows go up and the times they come down. Now, to the non-theatrical folk out there, shows don't start, they go up. Think back to the old-fashioned house curtains. the start of the show, they'd lift and reveal the stage, so they go up. So the show went up at 13:32. First half came down at 14:32, exactly an hour long, too long. We'd like to be a little bit less than that to stop people getting bored. But there's a reason for it, really. So our Cinderella went on stage, did the first number. And then I've got a little note down here that says on the bottom, but after the first song, 7 minutes from the start, she exited and collapsed in the wings. We had to stop the show. It's called a show stop. Usually they're done for technical reasons, when something that you have to rely on, something must happen and it breaks. And so you have a show stop. And you apologise to the audience, tell them we're really, really sorry, we've got a technical problem and we'll get going as soon as possible. Well, in this case, we stopped basically because Cinderella was lying in the wings, sort of being quite ill. We brought in, because we don't use house tabs for this show, because we have these pretty cloths at the start. So we brought that in, and it said Cinderella, it twinkles, it's lovely. That came back in and we stopped. We grabbed Amy, who's one of our ensemble. She's here again this year, people come back here. And she was Cinderella's understudy. So we grabbed Amy, we got the costume, got her into it, and sent Amy on stage. And then it's my job just to quickly tell the audience what's going on. And I just always believe in these things. It's always best to be honest and not blame things, because tell the truth. So I actually told the audience that I'm afraid Cinderella had been quite ill. And although she tried to do the show, she really wasn't well enough. So what we've done is put Amy, our understudy, on at very short notice. And I asked them, said, please, when you see Amy, please give her a big cheer, which is a great way of telling the audience that something has gone wrong. And instead of getting the Cinderella you've been watching for 7 minutes at the start of the show, you're suddenly going to get a different Cinderella. And it's always great to be honest. And when she went on for the first, her Cinderella entrance, she got enormous cheer, and it lightened the mood. And, being put on stage with like 2 minutes notice, time to prepare? No, just get on there and do it. And she did a brilliant job. But it was crazy that you start the show with one person and then within 7 minutes you've actually got a different Cinderella on. And all that goes in the show report. At the end of the show, in the finale, when she came down the finale steps, it was great. The audience were really behind her, and sort of, I think because she'd sort of saved the show, really. But even though all that had happened, we've actually got comments in the show report here that said, a brown bow fell off a costume retrieved by one of the ASMs, our assistant stage managers. So even though the place was falling down and Cinderella's laying on the floor, we still get a comment in the show report that says, brown bow fell off a costume. That's what show reports are. Many years ago, I meant to put in the show report that Aidan O'Neill, who was our Muddles character at the time, I meant to put in the show report Aidan O'Neill's mic died during Act 1. Nobody noticed. What I actually wrote was Aidan O'Neill died during Act 1. Nobody noticed. And very oddly, when I spotted what I'd done, I expected the phone to start ringing. Nobody did. So I wasn't convinced that all the show reports ever get read. I'm sure nowadays they probably do. But I remember, if you put in the show report that someone's died when they hadn't, and nobody actually asks you, you've got to sort of wonder sometimes. But anyway, that's the document that we fill in for every single performance. I think this year we've got something like 70 something left to do. So we do 2 of these a day. So that's what a show report is. So far, I think we've had 3 shows, and I think we're on number 18 or 19, something like that. We've had 3 shows that said clean show. In every show, something goes adrift. Usually, and thankfully, it's quite minor. It might well be a star fell off a cloth, or it could be that the dwarf's car didn't go quite straight, or it might be like we had the other night, one little patch of lights that light up in one of the sets didn't light up. You know, so we stick everything in, minor and major, and it's just good to have a record. And I keep them all. I've got them going back years, but I don't think I've ever been able to go back to one and use it for anything special. You know, it's just, you know, how did it go? It's no good just saying, yeah, great, or not so good. You know, all theatre shows really do show reports. There's very few that don't. And they do come in handy, because if the same technical thing goes wrong 2 or 3 times in a row, there's something underlying, isn't there? You know, so is it a queuing thing? Is it like an electronics problem? Is it a mechanical problem? Is it that there's too many cues for the operator to actually manage reliably? I mean, sometimes we'll actually have far too many cues. I mean, nowadays, dance numbers in a show might easily have 60 or 70 cues in or more. And it's very difficult to make some of those things go smoothly, because some are in time with the music, and our DSM Patrick is really good. So you can give him the music and he can put little marks in the music, so when a certain note is played, that's when he calls the cue. Or you can do it on words. It's really difficult to do it on movements, because he needs to be following a script or some sort of document, and he can't do that and look. So if it's a dance routine, when somebody does a certain movement, to see that, he's got to watch it. But if he watches it, he can't read it, and it makes life very difficult. So if you stick too many cues in, you're sort of guaranteeing that they're going to be a bit unreliable. We're quite lucky with this show. Most of the cues are obvious. Cloths move, lights do things, sound does things. Most of it is very straightforward, but some sections are incredibly busy. And although we haven't had them yet, mistakes will happen, and it doesn't really matter. It would be annoying if it spoiled people's enjoyment, and I don't like that. You know, if you go to the theatre, you expect it to be enjoyable, you expect it to work properly. Obviously, there are things that go adrift, but you know, that's normally a minor thing and doesn't impact on the audience's enjoyment of the show, and that's the only thing that matters. If anything else comes up, I will do another video, but I'm struggling a bit now to think what sort of things I could tell you. So if you've got any ideas, leave some comments below. If you haven't done the subscribe and the like thing, please do, because then I get a notification when you sort of leave messages and things like that. So hopefully I will see you on the next one. But if not, have a nice Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye.